Let's spend a little more time talking about PR writing, and this time we'll talk about the basics of actually writing the news release. So you may recall this PRSA, Public Relations Society of America tip sheet on PR writing. We've used this in news writing too because these are effective guidelines. But particularly some of these items to pay attention to in PR writing. Sentences per paragraph, just 2 or 3 sentences, right? We're still keeping it tight. 25 words in the lead or somewhere in that neighborhood. And press releases are also relatively short, 400 words or fewer in general, because we're just making our main points and hoping to get the attention of the media with a press release, or the attention of our audience in the form of a short story. Here's a press release from TxDOT, the Texas Department of Transportation. This is about the Texas OU weekend, and they're warning of traffic. Thousands of Texas and Oklahoma fans will be hitting the road for the big annual Texas OU rivalry football game this weekend in Dallas. The Texas Department of Transportation wants to remind all motorists to drive safely, be patient, and expect delays. So this is your basic inverted pyramid lead, right? So here's what's going to be happening, drive safely. And then we see also something that can be very effective in all forms of media writing for the appropriate topic, but bullet lists, right? So these can be particularly useful in press releases. The bullet list just sort of makes these individual points without having to belabor the issue, right? You don't have to explain why buckling seatbelts is important. You can just state this as one of the tips. So the news release structure, let's look at what we're going to be doing as we produce a news release that looks similar to this. So really the most important information on a news release, a traditional news release, is the contact information. And that's because you want the media to be able to reach out to you for more explanation, to set up interviews, or any number of reasons why the media might want to reach you. So it's extremely important that this information be, first of all, provided and be correct. And if you think about it, the telephone number should probably be a cell phone number or a number that's answered all the time, not just during business hours. Then we write in the inverted pyramid style for news releases. So the style we have been using, we're going to write in that same style for news releases. We follow AP style, so PR professionals follow AP style because that's what journalism professionals follow, so it makes sense. And accuracy is paramount still. Accuracy is paramount. And of course, correct pug all the time. We keep it relatively short, 1 page. The most effective press releases are about a page long. And we pay attention to what makes this news. What are the interest elements that will attract the media's attention? And the media's attention is attracted by things that will attract their audiences, right? Like what's useful to the audience that this media outlet appeals to. So immediacy, almost always, something that's current. Proximity, obviously that works. And then oddity, or sort of what makes this news, right? Why is this different and new at the moment? We avoid fluff. Now, sometimes people think when we're writing PR, we can just use all of these superlatives and go on and on. That is absolutely not the case. This should be as concise, if not more so, than a media report. We target our audience, so you are trying to appeal to the places that have the audience you're looking for. And then at the end of the page, at the bottom of the press release, we do this thing that is a bit of a throwback to when news releases were faxed and they might have had multiple pages, and we wanted to let you know this is the end of this news release. Don't look for page 2. But we write either these number signs, right, which we now call hashtags, 3 hashtags, or we put the number 30 at the end. And we will do that just because a number of PR organizations still adhere to this rule. But as you will see when you go to work, all kinds of different rules exist. So also, we don't do this when we're publishing online, although you will see press releases that are posted online that do have this. So, when you encounter it, you can just know what it is. So one additional element that press releases have that news stories don't, that's the boilerplate. Right? This is the standard paragraph that is just a bit of background about the organization that we need to provide as context for anybody reading the press release, any media entity reading the press release that might not know about the group or organization. Usually it's placed in the last paragraph, so we end the press release, in this case with a quote, but we've got this sort of last paragraph that is, this is what this organization is, or in this case, this is what this report is. So here's an example of a boilerplate. State of Texas Children 2015 is part of the Texas Kids Count, a project of the Center for Public Policy's Priorities, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on to explain that, and then has also some links to content or more information to read the full report. So if you were going to write a boilerplate for Texas State University, what would you put in it? So when the university issues press releases, the university communications professionals, our PR department, also includes a boilerplate, of course, because although we know all about the university, we realize that not everyone in the world does. So the boilerplate has information that will give you some context or set the place for what Texas State is. So have you thought about what would be in the boilerplate if you had to write one? This is a standard Texas State boilerplate. About Texas State University, and that's how they had it at the bottom of the press release. Founded in 1899, Texas State University is among the largest universities in Texas with an enrollment of 38,694 students on campuses in San Marcos and Round Rock. Texas State's 181,000 plus alumni are a powerful force in serving the economic workforce needs of Texas and throughout the world. Designated an emerging research university by the state of Texas, Texas State is classified under doctoral universities' higher research activity, the second highest designation for research institutions under the Carnegie classification system. So this is context, not something that you would expect a media outlet to print about or to publish about the university, but it helps anybody who's not familiar with the university understand the university's place, basically, in the higher ed world. So let's talk about fluff and substance. So we have some words that we should just avoid, some phrasing we should avoid. So let's take a look at what the problem would be and then the solution. So hotly anticipated, you will see those words, and really almost all ly words should be avoided. Instead, you can just say upcoming or exclusive. Highly respected, another ly. How about just respected? But you've also got to prove it. If you're going to say whatever you're promoting is respected, then you've got to give a little context for that. Very unique. This is a problem, and for the grammar files among us, you'll know why this is a problem. It's basically unique is unique. It's one of a kind. You can't be very one of a kind. So if it is truly unique, then you can use that word. Avoid very under most circumstances anyway. First of its kind. Now that may be okay, but are you sure it's the first of its kind? That's a pretty high statement to be making. So make sure that when you use a first, that it is indeed the first. Or quantify it. The first in San Marcos, right? The first at the university. Pleased to announce, we might speak that at a press conference, but we don't usually write it in a press release. We just say announced or announces. And then there are these groups of words that you see that we just often sprinkle in. So things like cutting edge, we're thrilled or excited to do this. This is an awesome opportunity, or we're delighted to announce. Essentially don't use those, right? So avoid those sort of extra words that don't really add meaning. And in fact, by throwing them in there, you might cause some people to trust you less because you've got to add those superlatives. So we like our writing to be fairly straightforward when we're talking about press releases, just as we do with news. So let's take a look at this lead, although it's extremely long, to see what the problem areas are, and then we'll look at a solution. Dateline San Marcos. Professor Mary Garza has been awarded a Fulbright Fogarty Fellowship as a result of her outstanding professional career. As president and CEO of Global Gravitas, Inc., Garza has routinely exhibited the passion, vision, and dedication necessary to be considered among the best. She developed the first global campaign to combat MRSA, an antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Now, what's the most important part of this press release lead? I would contend that it's this professor, so either using her name, because it's the university, we probably would, or saying a Texas State University professor. And you might say that she is the CEO of this organization. The most important thing she did was develop this campaign to combat MRSA, right? So that's a big deal. Yes, she may have routinely exhibited passion, vision, and dedication, and we can say that later if we need to, but it's really about this person who did this getting this recognition. So how about this lead? Professor Mary Garza has been awarded a Fulbright Fogarty Fellowship as a result of her involvement in the first global campaign to combat MRSA, and anti-resistant bacteria. Very to the point. We can talk about quotes from somebody saying how dedicated she is later in the press release. What about this? The best pizza shop in San Marcos is about to open, so don't miss a chance to enjoy the cheesiest party in town at Gilberto's on the Square. Okay, cheesiest, it's just a cheesy lead, right? So avoid that cutesy stuff in general. Help the client find a better angle, something that's really an interest element, something that will be meaningful to the audience. So Gilberto, San Marcos' newest pizza shop on the Square, opens this week with a contest for customers to design pizza recipes that could earn them a month of free pizza. So help them find something that would be an interesting news peg for the audience and be straightforward about it. So take a look at this site. So let's just look at the design. Do you notice anything particular about this? So one thing is the content all seems to be on one topic, but it's also organized much in the way a media outlet would be organized. We might look at this and think that this is a media outlet that writes about weaponry or military or defense. This is in fact the Department of Defense website, of course, and it's organized in a way to bring credibility because of its media-like design. So when we look at this, there's this first story. So it's news, right? U.S. strikes designed to deter regime's use of chemical weapons. Here's a story about Syria. So it's designed much like you would have on a news website. Here's what the story is going to be about, and it shows you there's a story, there's a statement from the White House, there's video, there's more video from these two naval ships, there's the DVIDs, which is the video page for Department of Defense, feature page, which has a number of video pieces, and a special report. So a lot of content created from this one event, and the communications team has to produce all of this content. So this is the news release that's produced on that, a statement from the Pentagon spokesman, Jeff Davis, on the U.S. strike in Syria. So the lead is talking about, at the direction of the president, U.S. forces conducted a cruise missile strike against a Syrian Air Force airfield, etc. So this is the press release that would be issued, that the media would get to say this thing happened. But then we also have the Department of Defense writing a story much the way the media would write a story. So it's got a byline, just like we've had, and it says DoD News, Defense Media Activity. So this is not a news organization, right? This is PR, communications. So then we have the lead that is a more traditional news or inverted pyramid style lead. The Syrian air base targeted in yesterday's U.S. missile strike is believed to be where Syrian President Bashar Assad regime's aircraft took off for a deadly chemical attack against civilians earlier this week. Senior military officials speaking on background told reporters at the Pentagon briefing today. So while there were journalists at the briefing taking notes on all of this, there was also a Department of Defense PR professional taking notes and writing a story about this. Of course, her story had to go through all the bosses, right? So the Department of Defense has to approve the content before they'll put this up, unlike the media content, which the journalists are expected to report without government interference. So that's the difference. The PR professionals at DoD are answering to their clients, government, and the journalists are answering to the broader audience. But they're still producing content that is quite similar. So then we've got, again, this lead, and then you could go back and look at the press release. Right? So this is how PR professionals produce content that can often seem very much like journalism. There's just some different ethics involved, and we'll talk more about that in the coming days. So the assignment elements that you need in your news release. Let's just review. Contact information, inverted pyramid style, AP style, PUG. Check every fact for accuracy. You're going to do about one page, right? One page. Make sure you hit the interest elements. So you're going to pick what is the most interesting and what will appeal to your audience. No fluff. Write a boilerplate paragraph and end the press release with either the 3 hashtags, 3 of them, or -30-. That's the end.